Imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Total protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal with your host, Conan Neutron. Broadcasting from a secret underground lair in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
The gigantic middle finger to everything that is rock. About music, rock and roll, and silver power.
The thing is, though, if you don't laugh, you're going to go on a killing spree with sharpened nails.
Confidence of a hero or a fool. I wasn't exactly certain which.
Could not be more professional.
It's only one I choose to devote my life to. That's okay.
It means something. It means something.
And they got away.
Yeah, that's my take on it. What's yours?
Protonic reversal.
That's like a science thing, right?
That's right. It's a science thing. It is a science place. It is a scientific fact that we are all up in your face. It is time, once again, for the one, the only Protonic reversal. Welcome to it, and additionally, welcome to it on tonight's episode. Hey, we got a Stomatopod on today. This is in advance of a new record. You may know John Huston, you may not. Great, awesome, like power poppy, raucous band, and they're a band you should know. So we are very excited. We, the royal we, I'm using in this scenario. Very excited to have John on. This is going to be as the kids say, a very good time, and I'm looking forward to it. Should be good. This is a new year, all new. 2022 Protonic reversal, still on top. I'm going to take this opportunity to do the spiel that I'm still getting used to doing. Not crazy about doing it. Maybe eventually I will feel better about doing it. But anyway, welcome to Conan Neutron's Protonic reversal. I am your host, Conan Neutron. I am a rock and roll lifer who has toured and recorded for over 22 years. Most known for the band Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends. Music is a huge part of my life. And I use the format of this long-running podcast to talk about music with musicians whose work I enjoy and respect. Folks that may or may not be household names do something very special. This is episode 279. This is your first time listening to the show. All the archives are at protonicreversal.com and are always free. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding. And if you'd like to support the show and get episodes sooner, you can give $1 a month to patreon.com/protonicreversal. If you like the show, or even just a single episode, please feel free to share it along, like, subscribe, or post a review. All that helps people find the show, and it's just a darn nice thing to do. Okay, got through it once more. I feel good. Hope you guys do too as well. And let's bring on Mr. John Huston. How you doing, man?
Hey, Conan. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. It's been a while in these COVID times.
It's been a long time. I was trying to think about that. That must be years, like over a year.
I was trying to think of it. Yeah, like when it was. I mean, it's probably a show in Chicago, I would imagine. But I was like, oh, it couldn't possibly be like that one. That was, and then I was like, oh no, that show was 6 years ago, Conan. There's no way.
Yeah, there was a show at Township. I remember having a conversation, and that place doesn't even exist anymore. So
exactly, it's like no, it couldn't possibly have been that one. There's no way in hell that was that one. But hey, having nothing to do with what shows I can or can't remember that I was at. You guys have a new record in COVID time, 2022. So first of all, round of applause for that, because that's no mean feat in and of itself. But
thank you.
It's impressive coming out at the time of this recording, of course, later this month, and it's a ripper. It's a ripper, man. So
thank you.
I have really gotten into asking folks that have put out records in the age of COVID, as we henceforth call it.
Yeah.
How'd that all come to pass? I mean, like if I remember right in the liner notes, or the online liner notes anyway, you guys wrote this during the pandemic as well, right?
All written and rehearsed. I mean, it's actually it's kind of like the craziest process for making a record I've ever been part of. I probably speak for Elliot and Sharon too. I mean, like the beginning of COVID, we didn't see each other for 2 or 3 months, and then we started like just jamming in my garage with like not even like real instruments, like low volume. We didn't want to bother
Yeah.
the neighbors. Like I had like this tiny little PV amp I'm playing out of. Elliot was using, the first time we played, he used like a trash can with his beater against it for the bass drum. Like it was like fake drums. It was like nuts. And but
Fantastic.
we just like missed playing, you know. So we were just making noise out in the garage. And so we started writing. Yeah.
Oh no! Please continue. I thought that was.
Oh no! So we started like writing songs and just playing in the garage, and it was really really hot that summer, and you know we had to have our masks on, the doors open, and but it wasn't until we did the idea for recording an album, particularly with Steve at Electrical, it didn't happen until November. So it was just after the election, and I'll never forget it because we did this one silly idea where we played a show on Sharon's porch, and she lives actually lives like a block from the mayor.
Oh wow!
And yeah, so I don't know, maybe Lori heard us or not, I don't know, but we played mostly for her neighbors, and we had such a blast because it had been almost a year since we'd played live. I think I was just kind of overly excited. I'm like, screw it, let's just book time now with Steve and just, you know, bucket list kind of thing, and just do it because we've got, you know, a handful of new songs, write some more. And that was really the impetus. So it was the day Biden had been announced the clear winner, and we were just over the moon about so many things. And so that November, then like the next Monday, I emailed EA and booked time, and it was in March, so we recorded in March with Steve.
I mean, yeah, that's got to be. Speaking of someone who had the experience of recording stuff the day after the other election results in 2016, that sounds.
Oh,
you
did?
Oh yeah, that was
a bad day.
that was a weird time to be alive, let alone attempting to create something. But that's, I mean, do you feel? I mean, how can you not have that like affect the creative process, right? Like, you know, like what would like art is not created in a vacuum, right?
Totally.
So,
And yeah, I you know, particularly the songs on this one, you know, I guess I don't really write too like linearly, but like there's definitely, I can look at the lyrics, look at the songs, and it really, like, this is very clearly this point in the pandemic for me, and you know, like they really represent like the whole kind of thing up until that point. You know, the good and the bad and the ugly, I guess. But
well, you're a pretty literate dude when it comes to lyrics too. So are you like, what comes first? Like, do you write all the music first and do lyrics? Is there like a mishmash? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, yeah, pretty much. Music comes first. I'll have some ideas for maybe a couple wordplay, and then kind of fill in the spaces later, kind of thing. Yeah.
Do you feel like that process changed in this sort of, like, again, like there's a trash can involved in the percussion, right? I mean, it's not exactly return to normal.
Well,
it's not exactly true.
Well, so, you know, in the past, we've always recorded ourselves in the basement, you know, because Elliot's got a ton of experience recording and sound.
Badass. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. And so we just, and then, you know, there's like a double-edged sword in that because you're in the comfort of your own home. I could do overdubs whenever I wanted to. You're not feeling the pressure of a deadline. So I always found that it kind of made the process longer than it maybe needed to be. I mean, it's nice because you don't have to like hurry or rush, and you don't feel like you make bad decisions. But I also kind of like having a deadline kind of keep me honest. So that being said, like this time around, so once we booked the time in Electrical with Steve, we started really practicing hard. But you know, this is before the vaccine came out, so we were still. Oh
wow! Okay, yeah.
And it was a pretty brutal Chicago winter, and so we were still. You know, masked up. We were practicing in Elliot's back porch, like with the windows open, like the semi-enclosed porch.
Yeah,
and
I think I saw some pictures of that. Yeah, like I admired the diligence and was both like kind of like sad for you and also a little jealous because I was like, oh, that sounds awesome and like brutal at the same time.
It was an unusual process. Yeah, we had coats on and masks on. We had a heater there. We're, you know, drinking beers, and Elliot's playing this crazy like half drum set, half, you know, whatever else. And again, trying not to bother the neighbors too much. But, you know, we practiced a lot. It gave us like this excellent like light at the end of the tunnel. Like we knew that the vaccine wasn't coming out for a few months, but it would eventually. it just kind of gave us all something to kind of think about that wasn't dreadful, you know?
Something to focus on. Absolutely. Yeah, no, 100%.
Totally. And
I-
as much as it sucked being on the porch, but we were also, hanging out together, and we were the only people we really saw,
Right. Like
other than
that
our families.
yeah, your family and your band is your pod, right? So
Yeah, and it was great. It was great. But, and then we demoed way more for this record than we ever have because we just wanted to be super prepared, going into the studio. And so to go back to a long-winded answer to your question, I think we thought about these songs more. I probably put more thought into the lyrics more because I was hearing different versions, free associating when we were, kind of jamming on songs and then coming up with different lyric ideas that way, which is kind of unusual as opposed to just like sitting there and thinking, being real intellectual about it. So different ideas and different kind of concepts kind of came out because of that. But yeah, we were like, we were all pretty active and like listening to the demos and figuring out different transitions. And it was fun. We were all in this like process together, and in a way that, we were just kind of, it was like the thing that we were all doing together.
yeah, and it's something to focus on, like you said, like it's something to kind of work towards, and you're taking part in active creation at a time where that in and of itself is almost a revolutionary concept. Right?
Yeah, man, we needed something too because there's only so many Zoom calls that can make you feel sane. But
I've taken my quote of staring at the wall all day, so let's do something different. Right?
Yeah, we've already watched Tiger King now, so let's do something else.
Oh, they released another episode? How is? Oh, I don't want to.
But I think probably the craziest thing about this whole thing is that we didn't actually hear the songs as played. We didn't play them or hear them as a full band until we set up and turned on in Studio A.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Especially because like not to put too fine a point on, you have a very talented engineer in the band. I mean, especially Broken Crucible, especially like that's a monster sounding like rock record.
Oh, cool.
And there's something I now personally I would want to put words in your mouth, but I think the idea of like having somebody from the outside take care of that piece of it, so you just fully focus on what you're creating, there's something to be said for that.
Totally. Certainly it was like an experience because Steve has recorded so many albums that we love, and
he's pretty good. Yeah,
no doubt. So
it was,
and Elliot knew Steve pretty well. I'd maybe met him once or twice, but it was basically a stranger to me. But yeah, obviously, it was quite a thrill and exciting, and just kind of watch what he learned so much just from watching him work, and he's worked so quickly. But ask him any question, and he'll answer it and give you a really thoughtful answer. So that was great. But yes, not having to be the one setting up the mics and making sure that everything's working and all that stuff. Right. That was wonderful, and just got to work on playing your guitar and singing your song.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about like the logistics of the trash can necessarily, and you can just play the songs well. What a concept.
I thought about that because a lot of bands like nowadays they'll put out like the record, and then as like an enticement they'll have like the demos as like a extra add-on thing. No one wants to hear these demos. They're crazy sounding because they're.
So how do you feel about that concept? Because that's something that I have very strong feelings on. I'm curious what your take on that is.
Oh, about the kind of like just bonus.
Yeah, like here's the album, and here's the demos, and if you're listening to it on a streaming service, the demos play immediately after the album. That.
Yeah, that's a good. I mean, how do I feel about it? For a band or for an album that means a lot to me, I think it's insightful just as a songwriter to kind of see some of that progression. Yeah. I can definitely see how it could be a little self-indulgent in others, or but I don't know, like I don't want to sound negative. I love the band Waxahachie. I don't know if you know sure. Waxahachie.
Yeah, I saw Waxahachie with I'm blanking on her name, the Australian
Courtney Barnett.
Yeah. Thank you. Boy, yep. I'm off my game. Thank you.
I can read your mind though. That's cool.
Yeah. Well done. Yeah. Yeah, there's a plugin actually for this new streaming software I'm doing. It's a mind reader plugin actually, so it's working.
It's
well.
a nice feature. Yeah, I just have to kind of turn up the dial, tweak a little bit, but it's pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, Waxahachie had a record, and they had the demos similarly, and the demo sounded like really good. And I'm like, there's no way she didn't like overdub her vocals just for the demos to be. I mean, maybe she. I mean, she's a great singer, and I love her music. I love that album. I shouldn't say like I'm making anything sound negative. If you heard our demos, it would sound really bad. Not nearly as good as her demos. And so I enjoyed listening to her demos, but it didn't really make me feel like I was hearing some sort of like early version or there was any significant changes. Yeah.
It didn't seem, yeah. And well, and so there's, and again, I'm trying to not take away enjoyment from things that other people enjoy. But for me, I usually prefer to hear like the finished product. Unless it's something where it's like, wow, how do they put that together? Like, then it's like, okay, what did this demo sound like? I think, oh, wow, that's very different. I think that's cool. But I think the idea of that worked better for physical product, where you could be like, I'm going to throw the disc 3 of the 4 CD set, and we're going to hear all the demos of this.
Right.
I think that works well.
I see your point, though. If it was like a Bandcamp only thing, but it goes to Spotify, it's just the record, that would make sense. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Like, I'm not interested in having like a to being radicalized about this, frankly. But like, it's interesting to me that some people have really strong opinions on it both ways. Some people are like, give me the stems, give me like the iPhone recording, and some people are like, I never want to hear anything that's not a finished track that's mastered by a recording. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, most people probably are like, oh, that's nice, whatever, don't care,
If I'm super into the band or the record, I'll all that stuff, all that detail, I find fascinating.
But you're saying these Stomatopod, the competing with Hindsight demos were not maybe something people are going to be that interested in. You're thinking?
I can't imagine that they would, but we'll see. Maybe for the 10th anniversary reissue, I don't know, but that's a little presumptuous. No, the
Beatles seriously thought that oh, nobody wants to hear this crap, and it's like, you're the fucking Beatles. Of course that people want to hear this crap. Like, come on, but you never know, man. You never know.
You'll be able to hear how bad of a singer I am for sure.
Well, okay, so talk to me about that because I think there's a Tim Midyat song on I think it's the last Band Mile record. It's called "Shy," about just being comfortable in your own voice. And to be fair, I only really know your work from Stomatopod, Honor Society. Like more like last 6-7 years, something along those lines. But it feels like you have become very comfortable in your own voice, even if you kind of know what you can and can't do to a certain degree, right?
Yeah.
Is that something that you think about? Because I mean, the band rips, and the riffs are there, the songs are there, but it's like, I mean, is that something that that have you had to do work on it? Do you think is it something that
Well, it's so singing. Yeah, when I first started playing guitar, and actually I just realized this is January 2022. I got my first guitar 30 years ago this month. January of 92. Oh, yeah.
But shred a little tonight in celebration,
Yeah, a little two-hand tapping or something.
Some hammer-ons.
The idea, at the very beginning, all I wanted to do was like write my own songs and sing them, and I certainly knew then I wasn't a good singer, and definitely people told me that, and that's fine. But it didn't really discourage me so much because I just kept doing it, and I've gotten better. I think maybe comfortable is the right way. Like I don't mind singing out off key, and it's odd now. Like everyone's so auto-tuned. It's like almost unusual to hear people singing slightly out of key anymore, and I almost enjoy it more now because it just sounds more honest. Because even Nico Case, great singer, she'll hit a bad note, and it's the part of it,
It reminds you there's a human behind it. There's emotionality to it,
Yeah, that's what I want to hear. Just people doing their thing, And that's why recording with Steve is great because there's no opportunity really for anything other than
he doesn't normally allow.
There's nothing. You can punch in a line here or there, but yeah, that's
he's normally going to talk you right out of that. Otherwise, but no, we're not going to do.
But we've never tried to do any kind of auto correction for anything on our stuff, and but I'm a little self-conscious about it. But I also know I'm not a great singer, and I probably don't try to bite off more than I can really chew, and I just want to make sure the songs sound the way they sound in my head, roughly, and.
Well, I mean, but also, like, what's a great singer, right? Like, one of my favorite singers of all time is Tom Waits, who almost objectively has a bad voice. Like, it's like it sends people crawling up the walls. But like for me, it's like it's perfect for the songs, and I totally get it. People don't care for it, and I don't evangelize about it. But for me, it's amazing, and it's amazing because it just has got this very unique quality that no one sounds like, except for when they're trying to make Doritos ads, apparently.
Yeah, no, if it fits, it fits. Somebody once was making an analogy about video and the video versus audio. What makes good video, what makes good audio. They talked about like the moon landing, right? Like that was pretty crappy looking video and spotty audio, but because the event was so huge, like nobody complains about how bad the audio was on the moon landing video.
Right. You're 100% right. Yeah.
So if you have a song that connects emotionally, it doesn't matter if it's sung. Maybe it makes more sense to not sing it beautifully. So I've never tried to sing beautiful, and well, that's not necessarily the thing. I've sung plaintively. I don't try to like overdo it. I don't try to overly expressive, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it just seems very honest. Like, I mean, and it comes from the school of, like, I would say, like, the melding of, and I don't know if this is where it's coming from or not, but like, the early Elvis Costello, and like where that kind of crossed over into like the punky power pop sort of world of just like, hey, the song matters a lot more than like the delivery being, aria perfect or whatever along those lines. And that's where my heart is every time, right? I can't stand these fakakta singing shows. Like, no way, man. That's not for me. Thank you. Anyway, so but vocals, again, Steve Albini, not known as like the vocal guy. Like all love for Steve, but he's very like, I mean, he's like the saint of that, right? Of the just capture the moment, capture the way it is. Don't try to make it sound fake or whatever, right?
He wants you to feel comfortable. Like he trusts you to know what the song is supposed to sound like. One part, I remember there's a guitar riff in one of the songs, and he's like, hey, I just want to call this to your attention. Is this intentional? And then he'd play it back, and he kind of put his finger in the air to say like right here. I'm like, oh yeah, that's actually intentional. Maybe it sounds bad, but that's how I wanted it. And he's like, okay, great. Same thing with vocals. Right. But he actually made a really good point about vocals, is that you play your guitar, you're still hearing a piece of wood and metal that's played. Sure, it's played by your hands, but it's a guitar. It's the voice of the guitar. When you sing, it's actually your body, and so people are naturally more in tune. They're more, or not in tune. I shouldn't say that's a bad analogy, but they're more. It's personal, right?
Yeah.
So you're gonna spend more time on, or you're gonna feel a little bit more, making sure that it sounds the right way, because it's an actual representation of your body. So he understood that, and he was very cool about that. So the hard part for me is making sure that that it sounds the way that I wanted it to, and not overdoing it, but not accepting it if it's gonna bug me 10 years later.
Well, but I think, but also like Stomatopod's a band that you kind of, to me, it feels like you're a band that very much knows who you are, right? It can be your thing, it cannot be your thing. It's like I could see you guys suffering from the, oh, it's too poppy, oh, it's too noisy, depending on who you talk to, kind of mindset. But I mean, for the kind of person it's for, and like, I could waste everyone's time and talk about what that record collection of that person might look for, but it's right down the line, and it's there's a comfort to the music that it sounds like you guys know what you're doing. Which some there, and don't get me wrong, there's times that like it's nice to hear someone that has no idea what they're doing, right? The Shags are exciting because like what is going on right now? Like what is happening? but the band sounds very authoritative in what you do. Like, it seems like there's a very clear vision for it. I mean, is that something that has everyone always kind of been on the same page? And yeah, and then we can tie it to the records too, because I actually would like to go through the other records before we go with the new one. Which, by the way, I should mention, because I haven't mentioned, Competing with Hindsight, available for pre-order on Bandcamp, stomatopod.bandcamp.com. That's why we're talking right now. That comes out later this month at the time of this recording. That's January 28th.
We're hoping. I got a somewhat ambiguous email from the record plant saying that it might be delayed again, but yeah. So fingers crossed.
But you can still get the digital, right? And you can rock that on your iPod, your Zune.
Yes, your Pono player.
Your Pono, yeah.
I got it in my ear. I heard it through the plug-in.
Yeah, but we said Stomatopod, and also for people, because there are probably people that are not familiar with the band too. STOMATOPOD, and I'm going to put links in the show notes and all that stuff so people can find it. So the pre-order for the record vinyl is like $15, which is a steal. That's great. Just check it out. But we'll get more into that record soon. I want to. I know Stomatopod because of Liz.
Sure. So
before the mighty Sharon Malloy was in Stomatopod.
Yep, Liz Bustamante.
Yeah, who's all love to Liz.
Yeah, she's great.
You and Elliot. Was that the first iteration of Stomatopod, or just the first public version? Okay.
No, back in the olden days, I had been a number of years since I'd played in bands for one reason or the other.
Was that by intention? Like, were you like doing a Greg Norton and like, just, I'm done with that for a while? Or
no, not really. It's kind of, so I was in the Ponder Society back in 07, 08, 09. And that was a two-piece, myself and my friend Stephanie Morris. And then she committed suicide in June of 09. And that was a little hard to get over, for obviously. And that I would have always assumed that, music would have kind of helped me through any kind of hard times. And that, because maybe she was like a musical collaborator, it was like the last thing I wanted to do was listen or make music. So that was a pretty rough patch. So that was a while, but I had started kind of trying to get back into music and remind myself that I was a musician, and I would plunk on guitars, but I just wouldn't really, connect or whatever. But so I knew Elliot through my wife, Cynthia, and he came over once and just to make some noise. I don't know if he expected anything of it, but we were friendly and played him a few of the songs that I'd written at that point, and he was like, yeah, let's play again sometime, and it just kind of snowballed. And then he knew Liz, and I had met Liz before briefly too, but then Liz came in, and so then we became a three-piece, and then finished. We started writing some more songs. That became our first record, Air by the Ton. Yeah,
and that is a real. The energy on that is very like light is the wrong word, but it doesn't. It feels very propulsive. Like it feels like a band that's just like, oh man, cool. Check this out. We wrote these things. They're called songs. We call this music. Like it has like that kind of attitude about it. Like this real gleeful songs that connect in that way. That like for a lot of bands' first albums are credited in that way. But I mean, Elliot's a pretty unique drummer. Like he's a pretty unique and cool drummer. Like it's hard I would imagine, not to find a little gold just from that, let alone,
He's great, man. I love playing with Elliot.
He's pretty underrated, frankly. Like,
that's crazy because he should be like on the top of people's lists. He's so good.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing like playing with a great drummer. You obviously know this. But yeah, just playing anything we do, just like even if it's a crappy cover, just mess around and practice. It's just so much fun to play with Elliot, you know.
It hits different when it's yeah, there's something like sorry to interrupt, but like who was it that was like as far as rock music goes, it is possible but not very likely to have a great band if you have a not great drummer, but like almost all great drummers make great bands. I really muddled that, but anyway, wonderful. Drummers are great. Anyway, moving on. Wow, I've done this for 8 years, John. Did you know that? No.
Practice makes perfect, Conan.
No. Maybe by episode 300, I'll do it. But yeah, Elliot's a great drummer. He brings so much to the songs that there's an enthusiasm to it that maybe like was when you were working through things.
I think he was jazzed to be playing again because he's been in a number of bands, and then with Liz, and we were all friends, and it was great. I think that album is interesting because there's a few songs that have been written pre Stomatopod being a thing, but then half of them or something are ones that we all came up with or were new to us, right? And so the band was really kind of figuring itself out. So for that record, like the title track, Air by the Ton, that was where I really felt the band was kind of hitting its stride, and that was kind of more indicative of the things that we would do later. And that's kind of why it was important to put it as the last song on that record, and still one I love playing live.
Yeah. I mean, there's a through line through it for sure. Like, and I originally maybe mischaracterized what you're doing as coming from like the pop side of the power pop, and then like gradually I was like, oh no, they're like, this is a rock band. This is a rock band, and like there's some kind of deep wells here that I think you got more into as time went on, for sure. Like, not that I like the first album. I think it's good, but
yeah, I mean we're all into fairly diverse stuff, that's including Liz and Sharon. So we've definitely like shit canned songs that are too poppy.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And
there's not, I mean, like, and that's something that like maybe 20-year-old me would be like, yeah, but like, whatever. Like I was like, oh yeah, I mean, I was an idiot. This is great. Like, Harry Nilsson is awesome. Like, you're a moron, 20-year-old. Signed 44-year-old Conan.
right. Oh yeah, I don't really want to go back and talk to 22-year-old me. That would be that'd be kind of dismal. He was very judgmental. But that's the fun thing about being in the band is you can do whatever you want. It can be a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You can be experimental if you want to. You can be straightforward if you want to, and there's no real rules about it. And one, I wouldn't say it's a challenge, but one thing that Elliot brings to the table is that he's been a live sound guy, was the sound guy at the Fireside Bowl, back in his heyday. Before that, he was at Czar Bar. He has literally seen thousands of bands.
He's done. Right? He's put in the time.
Literally,
man. That guy has put in the time. Yeah.
So, and beyond that, like he has just like an encyclopedic knowledge of rock music. Yeah. And so, if I bring something that's even mildly derivative, it's gonna get noticed.
You're not gonna be able to get it past him. He's gonna be like, nope.
Even if it's like, oh, this sounds like something.
Yeah.
And then he's probably right. It's probably too close to something. But that's good, because it there's good to be a vetting process. That makes it better.
Well, and that's when I mentioned the record collection of people's that are the fans of Stomatopod, you can kind of like predict certain things. Like I feel like in a way, spiritually, Stomatopod kind of operates in like a Yo La Tengo kind of way, that way, where it's like those are just incredible musicians, sure, but like fans of music, like just real like fans. Like I saw them do an encore once, and they brought out like Mark Bell, and they did like 5 Ramones songs as their encore, and I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, cool.
And like it was like Pearls Before Swine for half the audience, but I was stoked about it, But like just that kind of hey, we're making this like wiry, poppy, punky music, but like we have a sense of history too. Like, and I appreciate that. Like, I think that's as long as it doesn't like paralyze the creative process, I think it's actually a real good quiver in the the thing you hold the arrows. That's a quiver. Yeah. Arrow in the quiver. I'm like we as we mentioned, I'm way off my game tonight, man. Sorry. But it's what I'm trying to say is that like it's an informed pop sensibility that comes from like a deep love of music, frankly.
Yeah. Yeah, and I probably lean towards the melodic side of music, and Elliot certainly knows his melody, but I think he's really the rhythm guy. Like he understands groove, and he enforces the groove. You know,
he's the groove enforcer. Yes, that is true.
Yeah. I mean, and Sharon brings a whole lot to it too. I mean, she's got this real ear for harmony and for transitions to make sure. I mean, and so everyone kind of brings this kind of. We all love music, and we probably all have a very similar. I bet we have a lot of crossover in our music collections. But I think that as musicians, we all bring something a little bit different, and that's really awesome because the Beatles are an example. I mean, there wouldn't be a Beatles if there weren't like the collaboration of Lennon, McCartney. Certainly we're no Beatles. That's not what I'm trying to say. But like when people get together and they bring their own stuff and they kind of massage things together, it gets way better than one person's singular vision. Like I wouldn't want to write a song and say this is how we're doing it and boom, we're done. There's no joy in that. Not for me.
Yeah. I mean,
I've done that before.
Those for some, those American flags for others, right? Is the Simpsons quote? But
yeah, I mean, I can look back on songs I've made that were clear visions that I had, and sometimes they're successful. But I think that by and large, the ones I'm most proud of in retrospect are the ones that are more collaborative.
Well, because you're using the elements of the people that you're collaborating with, right? And so everyone gets a chance to shine and make something cool, which there's something to be said for that. That's one of the things I found, probably one of the two things I found most impressive about Get Back is it's like, oh, they're you get to see them just be a band, like do all the things that like bands do, like have dick around songs where you like sing funny lyrics instead about what's happening in the room, and like oh, you're really gonna play that bass? The other one kind of sounds better. That's the one, huh? You're gonna do it, okay? And just all of the things that it's immediately familiar to anyone that's ever played in a band. Where it's like, oh yeah,
sure.
That's 90% of the time, and then you rock, and hopefully that's good too.
Yeah, totally. I picked up on that too. And one of the other things I liked about that film was that you also see, and this is something that I have no experience with, but those are the only 4 Beatles ever, and they were the only 4 people who were at that height, that level of fame and stardom. They couldn't trust really anybody but themselves, and that comes through too, because they talk to each other in a way that they don't talk to whatever the publishing guy who comes in. They don't talk to even Glenn Johns.
That guy, right? He like later was like known crook. Anyway, sorry to interrupt, but yeah.
No, exactly right. But like the way they addressed each other was just so like it was great and refreshing to see that, because they'd been together in Hamburg. They are literally the only ones that understand what it's like to be a Beatle, and I don't know, that was really cool for me to see that even though they were having like their internal strife, they were still the only 4 people they could really talk to and trust that way. Yeah.
And it's very special, and it means all the more that like when they bring in Billy Preston and they all kind of oh, get it together, guys. We gotta, we like this guy. We want to make sure he doesn't think we're a bunch of stooges. It's like, you're the Beatles.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be okay. But then he like is so stoked to. He's like, I am playing with the Beatles right now, and life is rad.
Yeah. I mean, man, did he fit in great though? I mean, he just
so
dropped
good.
in.
Yeah.
I know.
That's
I don't know. No matter who you are, you're sitting with the Beatles. You got to feel like a bit of pressure or a little bit of nerves or whatever. It didn't seem like he had any apprehension. He just dropped in and put magical shit everywhere.
And that's Billy Preston in a nutshell, man. That guy he's like a magical wizard that just danced into the room and did magical wizard stuff.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the various records, the various Stomatopod records for sure. But I don't want to give short shrift to the Honor Society record, which I try to be sensitive to things that are heavy topics.
No worries.
But
I'm
I
an
think
open book.
It's a fascinating and very sad story, and it's a really interesting and fascinating record. So, you mentioned this is and you were writing these songs, you had this collaboration going, and then and she's gone. So I saw the reenactment. I think it was the Honor Society. There was a very long name.
Yeah, Friends of the Honor Society.
Yeah, thank you. Long name. Look, everything I do has got a long name. I'm one to talk. Sorry, but like I just couldn't remember off the top of my head.
No worries.
But it's beautiful. I mean, and like that comes with, like, when I saw it, I was like, I don't know any of this crap, but
right.
It was, I was like, wow, you could feel the weight of it, and it came through. It got over. So, like, I mean, can you tell me about how that kind of came to pass? Like, how that collaboration came to be
with Stephanie and me?
With Stephanie, yeah.
Sure. I'd always played mostly like, loud rock music. And I knew Stephanie and her husband, Nathan, were good friends of mine. She had been playing solo with like a backing group, just, beautiful songs, writing her own stuff, obviously sort of in like the Bloodshot Records kind of country, alt country kind of inspired stuff. Beautiful. I mean, obviously, talk about singing. She had this obviously amazing voice, sort of an amazing voice, and it was hard to keep up with her. Like I didn't feel like I belonged. But when I was kind of between projects, I was like, hey, I've got some songs. I'd love to try to do something a little quieter. What do you think? And so we just, kind of got together in one of our living rooms, and it was really just boiling it all down to, acoustic guitars and vocals, which I'd never really done a whole lot of singing with other people or harmonies or being backing to someone else's songs, really. And so I really loved that. And then we started, playing around, and it was great. And people really responded to it. And so we had self-recording our stuff, and we were about to release the record when she died. But we'd played out of town a few times and gotten some fun gigs and whatnot. But the music was, I don't really say this about my own music too often, but I do feel like those songs were like, there's something special there.
Yeah.
And
no, I back that. Yeah.
I'm a terrible self-promoter. And I'm very Midwestern. I almost never want to say anything nice about myself, to the point of just telling everybody how much I suck. But like, that's the one project where like, I don't mind saying like, you should listen to the Honor Society. That's a good album. Like, I don't care that I was half of it. Like, the songs are great. Stephanie's great. We sing really great together. And I don't really say that too often about my own voice. But I'm just really proud of it. And so that's up on Bandcamp. I need to get it up on Spotify. But anybody who pays money for it on Bandcamp, we turn the money over to either Girls Rock or Suicide Prevention.
I mean, I think it's a rad record. I think it's a, it's heavy, obviously, but
It wasn't heavy at the time, but yeah,
it's heavy, contextually heavy, I should say, and that's, there's something to be said for just honoring the memories of people that are important to you, especially creatively. Like, I mean, it's
one of the weird things. Yeah, I definitely, and I want people to hear Steph's music, and man, she would have been great. She played with Dianoga on the last, I guess it's the last Dianoga record. I did some touring with them, and she did some stuff with Scotland Yard Gospel Choir. Right. In addition to Dianoga on the last. But one of the funny things was, so it was heavy in the years after she died, and one of the things that kind of helped me come to terms with the music, I guess, is my wife and I had our first son, and from the very beginning, one of his favorite songs, even as a little baby, was Steph and my version of the Ramones song "Judy's a Punk,"
which is great.
For whatever. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
As a lifelong Ramones fan, as I've adequately established by referencing them once, I was like, "Oh, that's cool. That's awesome."
And funny thing is, like, Steph was still alive, but I don't know how, but Mike Watt came upon that probably on MySpace, and he played on his podcast once. So
Oh,
we were like,
that's
oh my god,
awesome.
yeah,
That's so
it's
great.
totally just random. It's like somebody said, "Hey, do you hear yourself on the Watt from Pedro show?" I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, that guy is. It amazes me how voracious of a music lover and devourer he is. Like,
Yeah, because we were certainly not trying to reach out to him or anybody.
no, he finds stuff on his own, man. It's
Yeah.
great because it's like this. It's from Mike Watt. You don't need to do anything, dude. Even before
Yeah.
you're in the Stooges, like you're the Minutemen, man. Like,
Right.
you don't need to
I
do
know.
any of this. It's impressive. I love that.
So then my son
aspirational.
loves that Judy is a punk song, and when he's a little kid and danced around, so he would always ask me to play it for him, and so that just kind of, after doing that a number of times, it's like, okay, these songs aren't sacred. These are just, they don't need to make me sad. They can make me feel happy again.
Yeah. So exactly. So you're turning these negative, horrible negative emotions and recontextualizing things to make something beautiful.
Yeah.
And I don't have any special epiphanies about Leftovers, and I think it's a good record, and I think people should check it out. But like, it's the whole story of the collaboration is real interesting and real cool. I like that you went back and got the demos, right? Fall on Me is a great that's a great song. That's like one of my favorite REM songs. There's like the one modern English song everybody knows that's fantastic, like
yeah. Well, a couple of those, that modern English one, and I think there's a Bright Eyes song. Those were requests because friends of ours were getting married, and they were like, "We want you to play at our wedding."
Oh, how cool!
And we were like, "Okay, what do you want?" And they said these two songs, and so we learned them, and so we recorded them just for fun as we were working on them for the wedding. And then I found them when I was going through stuff that was kind of lying around. And, it's like, hey, this sounds weird but good. And like, let's just maybe people want to hear it.
I know. I mean, I thought it was great, and it's there's a place for all of that, and I think that in today's hustle and bustle world, things like that can easily be forgotten when you don't have like a PR campaign or something going, right? And I don't know if this show can be like a little light in the darkness to lead people to stuff like that, then I'm
that'd be cool, because we were certainly not making music really to as like a product or anything, like particularly those covers. They were just for two of our really good friends who were getting married, and we were just trying to help them celebrate their special day. And but yeah, that speaks to me about how much our music kind of, or whatever, meant to our friends, and so it didn't have to be a big thing. It was just a few people really liked it, and that made us feel good.
Yeah, well, exactly. And it's not about pleasing millions and tens of millions of people. It's about what the meaning is for the people it matters to. And that's whatever. There's a through line for this show since the very beginning. That's certainly one of them. So, okay, so we're gonna and of course, so that's the Pawner Society, PawnerSocietyBand.bandcamp.com for people listening and not looking at links and things along those lines. And go check that out. So back to Stomatopod. So you got Air by the Ton.
Yep.
Great record. You got a great little band going. Liz decides she's out.
Yeah.
In pure Liz Bustamante way. What I can only assume, I wasn't in the room. I shouldn't say that. That's I don't know how that happened, but it just wasn't her deal.
She just wanted to kind of do some other things, and that's totally cool. I mean, she's done so much music in her lifetime.
She's so right. I mean, she's a
she's great. She's great. And it's worth noting that she didn't play bass at all before she joined the Stomatopod. I mean, that's pretty. I mean, her caliber of musicianship is that she
would never know.
She can hear it in her head, and then she just had to teach her fingers to do it, and that's a musician right there. So she came up with some really cool parts, and she's a great singer, and it was a lot of fun. And I think that she just wanted to kind of mosey on down the road and see what was next for her, and she's done some cool stuff ever since too. So certainly no hard feelings at all. So but we were lucky that when she, around the exact same time, Elliot happened to reconnect with Sharon, so their previous bands were kind of like for lack of a better term, brother and sister bands.
Yeah,
Elliot
sibling
was
bands. I love that.
he was in an all guy band called Nerves, and she was in an all female band called The Dishes.
Yes.
And they used to do a lot of touring together, and were pretty tight back around late '90s, early 2000s. And so yeah, Elliot reconnected with Sharon and said, "Hey, do you want to do this?" And she's like, "Well, I haven't really played my bass in a while." And so it's like, bring it over. Let's see how it goes. And same thing was like when I first started with Elliot. It's like, let's see how it goes. And it just kind of, this feels right. This feels comfortable. We like being around each other, and let's do it.
I have rarely seen someone drop into a band and have it just be more natural and cool and like, oh, of course. Like, it was like, it was from an outside perspective, it was seamless. Because of course Sharon's a badass. Like she's in her own.
You were at her first show.
I was at her first show. That's right.
What was it called? Camp Out in that big auditorium thing.
And I actually, when they did the reunion, when they did the Nerves and Dishes reunion shows, I got to see them play at High Dive in Milwaukee, which is
cool.
I could not imagine going to see a show at High Dive in the year 2022. Because
yeah.
It's like, intimate. This is probably the best way you can describe High Dive.
Shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But I mean, like, and I only knew the Dishes from Reputation. Like I knew the name, right? And I was like, oh yeah, that band. I think they're from Chicago or something. And but like, what a rad player. Like what a rad player, right?
So great. And like you're saying, the comfort thing, like she's just an awesome person. Like she gets along with everybody.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's a hard position, like especially going to like one of those types of events where you walk into a situation where you feel like everybody knows each other, and she's like the stranger. Well, she just made friends with everybody right away,
Well, and she's just instantly affable, right? In that way that's like, hey, I feel like I've already known you for a while, and I think I met you about 45 minutes ago.
yeah, she's great.
Yeah,
she's great. She quickly became one of my favorite people.
Yeah, impressive lady and impressive musician as well, and a great singer also.
All of it, yeah.
Which is like nice.
Yep. So when we're in the studio or when we're recording, whether it was for Broken Crucible or competing with Hindsight, I really ask her to be my ears for me when I'm singing, because I like, keep me honest. Could I do it better, or is it good enough?
Right.
And so it's really nice to have that. So I know when I've done something terrible, but if it's like, on the cusp, like it's nice to have either her kind of boosting my confidence or saying, you know what, I've heard you do it better. Just take it easy.
Right. It doesn't have to be some devastating critique. It's just like, you could probably do that better. Okay.
No, she's got a great ear and she understands. Yeah.
I mean, so I hear, right? I hear that's how that goes.
I don't know. I've read about it.
I wouldn't know from personal experience.
No, none of us would. Yep.
Yeah. And I think so then there's you guys are playing for a while and writing new songs, and then you come ripping out with Broken Crucible, which shredded harder than I expected. Is probably the best way I can put it. Like in a way that like I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like John's doing some like Greg Sage stuff over here. Like this, I mean, not that like it sounds like a ripoff, but like in the way of just,
I get
like, the guitar, exploring the guitar as an instrument for creativity, sort of way.
Yeah.
To Brocon, I think he thought I meant to sound like a ripoff. I'm like, I do not mean that at all.
Really?
not at all.
No, any kind of
be careful about Greg Saging people. Greg Saging your thread. Sorry.
That's okay. I'll take it. I mean, that band was brilliant.
One of the best guitar players of all time. I mean, take that.
Yeah. And there aren't that many guitar players who sound like him. I mean, but you hear people like approximating what he did, and
building careers on it in some cases. No names mentioned. But I mean, but like.
You mentioned Chris Brokaw, you said, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man, that Heart of Human Trafficking song off the Puritan record.
So
it's pure Youth of America, but holy cow, that song's so good. Like that's a top 25 of all time song for me. It's Chris Brokaw song. It's so good.
It's remarkable that he manages to take it in a different kind of like psych direction without it being remotely psych. Like it's a remarkable song. And that's a great record. That made my year-end list. I mean, that's
rightly so. I mean, it's a great record, and that song for me was like the standout.
Oh,
like,
it's that's like, if you read a song like that, man, you're gonna be like,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
doing okay over here.
But it's funny, yeah, I love that song, and I met Chris maybe once. I don't know him at all. But I've tried to like turn people on to that record, and sometimes it sticks, and some people don't hear it and they don't give it enough chance to really sink in. It's a kind of an odd thing, because
Yeah.
to me it's like, man, this connects so hard. Every time I hear it, I hear something new in it. So that's the funny thing. Like you were kind of talking about before, like with Stomatopod, is it too pop? Is it too noisy? Like, it just doesn't connect with some people, and that's fine.
But then, I mean, I hear you like rip about something like Baudelaire, right? And it's like, I'm sorry, you're telling me this does not rock? Like you're rock in your head. Like that's the only rock I hear. Like the ones bouncing around your head because you're dumb. You're dumb.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's like necessarily thematically that much different from like what it came before, but it's just, it kind of seemed like you guys opened it up a little bit. Well, now if I remember correctly, this is, as you well know, this is not a gear show, but it kind of seemed like you were going towards smaller amps. Like you became an enlistee in the Quilter Army at one point.
Yeah. I still am. Yeah, I still have the same little dinky 2-pound 50-watt head, and
But you got some raging guitar tones on that record. Now, was that on the Quilter, or those on like big boy amps?
So I bought that Quilter thinking, oh, it's gonna be lightweight to take to gigs, and I'll record with my tube amps like all the. No, I just recorded the Quilter. Even with Steve, I was like, I felt kind of weird. Like, is it cool? And he's like, yeah, the Quilters are great. And he matched it up with another amp of his to get kind of a split.
Yeah.
But yeah, even I was like, why was I nervous about asking Steve Albini about what amp I'm playing? Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like
just like Elliot with the live thing, he's heard a lot of bands.
Yeah.
So he's gonna know what what's a rad guitar sound. But yeah, they should give you one, man. You're good endorsee for that company. They should give you one of those.
Yeah.
Although I'm pretty sure you'd have to hit it with a shotgun to break it. But
it's great. It's great. I love it. But I have gear wise gone more towards things that are lightweight, and that speaks more to my age and my lack of hair. I'm an old person now, so I invest more in like the dolly than I do in the speaker cabinet. Apparently.
Oh yeah, the dolly's very name brand. Like it's I'll take that endorsement. Yeah,
you got to get the good one. Yeah, I always read premierdolly.com for the reviews.
You know what? I Johnny, kid you not, that was my gift to myself for my 40th birthday, by the way, just in time for like the show we were playing was a dolly for
oh, really?
And I was like feel good about this decision. Okay, so Broken Crucible, right? So you got like there's a lot of like, when I say shredding, I don't mean like Steve Vai, like hey, check me out shredding. I mean the fact that like these are like tight, concise, usually very wiry pop songs, but like there's some guitar heroics I feel like you used to hear more of, like Dinosaur Jr.
Okay.
Like stuff like that, where it's used as a creative implement.
Yeah.
And I don't know where the stigma suddenly came up that like that was not cool, or that like is whatever, or when folks maybe like. But it seems like there's like Milk Music was one for a while, that there'll be like a band every now and again that like kind of brings that aspect of it, and people treat it like it's brand new, and it's like, I don't know why you think that's brand new, but okay. But was that a conscious choice to or was that just like where the music took you for these songs, where you have these songs and we're like, you know what, they're gonna be shredding tonight?
By and large, the answer is there's very little conscious effort put into any of this, but
fair, okay.
But I play a few other instruments, but guitar is my main instrument. I probably have a natural kind of knee-jerk reaction to people who are probably showing off on guitar, and so I would never want to do that. and I don't think I do, but
no, it doesn't feel remotely show-offy. That's not at all what I was trying to.
No, I get you. I think that with Broken Crucible, there was an element of I was writing songs that were fun to play.
Mm.
And I guess maybe that was the only kind of conscious thing, was that some of those songs are just, whatever it is, they're just fun to play in a way that maybe some of the more straight ahead kind of chord-based songs weren't as fun. They were good songs, or they had an emotional impact, but there was an element of they're just kind of I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it wasn't ever to try to be impressive or to be flashy or anything, but maybe that there was an opportunity to kind of do some squiggles here and there, and
well, they serve the song.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is even when it's,
well, there is one song where I went above and beyond, but it was kind of more of a joke, kind of tongue-in-cheek thing.
But that seems almost like that's the punchline.
I actually sent that guitar solo to Ryan Werner as we were working on it. I'm like, I want you to weigh in on this, and he's like, I think you should do more.
Of course, shocking! Yeah. What a shocking development! Yeah. Oh, Warner. Yeah, but I mean, it's not that it's like ostentatious or unnecessary, or song as delivery system for guitar solo or anything. But I'm just saying that it's very much in that record seems like that stuff is very much embedded into the compositions to me. Like it's sort of like that. That just seems like that's as much a part of the song as anything else.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. Yeah, those songs just kind of had like a little bit of an extra dimension, I think, as opposed to like this kind of verse chorus chord changes type of thing. Yeah.
Great art by your friend of mine, Chris Williams.
It's so beautiful.
The best.
That guy is the best.
Yeah.
And then so we did. It was a digital download full length, and then we did a limited edition of lathe cut 7 inches.
Right.
And so his cover art was also the cover art for the lathe cut, and it opened up along the Crucible cut, and man, it was just gorgeous. And can't speak highly enough about Chris Williams and his art and his artistry, because he like listened to the songs and read through the lyrics and then just came up with this beautiful thing.
He's such a deep, thoughtful artist. I mean, 201. Maybe I had him on this show, and I urge people that are not familiar to check it out, because I dragged it out of him. But I think did you have an idea? Like, did you have the album title already before the art came? Like, where was the?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
We did.
What was your thought process with that album title?
Well, this is sort of silly, but we kind of decided early on that each successive album would be the next letter of the alphabet. So we got Air by the Ton, Broken Crucible, competing with Hindsight. So when we were looking at the second album, we wanted the B title, and we came up with some suggestions, but then that was also a song title as well. And it seemed to really make sense because of that kind of that pressure cooker type of feeling, it's somewhat breaking the mold a bit. So it kind of worked on a lot of different levels for that reason, I suppose.
There's a big, I mean, I live in Milwaukee now, but I'm from Oakland, and there's a lot of places that have like, there's a place literally called the Crucible in Oakland, but I mean, there's a bunch of places that are like, we're pouring metal over here. This is what we do. We craft like stuff, like, and some of it's artistic, some of it's not, and like it's the lines are like really blurred, but it's an evocative image. Not even if you don't have that frame of reference, it's an evocative image because, like you said, like literally, what's on the cover? Well, you're breaking the mold. Literally, you're breaking literally, the mold is being broken.
Right.
Which is very, I mean, it's clever in its way, especially if you're a fan of, say, wordplay. And
I'm not. Really.
Yeah,
I don't really like words are for losers. Yeah.
More into GIFs.
Mm-hmm. Anything animated.
Right.
Text to voice.
And then so Ingstrom helps with the mixing on that too, right?
Yeah,
Just
he mixed both
in
the first and second records.
Yeah.
Matt's got a phenomenal ear. So the first album, I think we went pretty simple and straight ahead. And the second one, for Broken Crucible, we said, if you've got some experimentation, bring your ideas. And he's like, yeah, I got some plugins I want to try, which included the Mind Reader one. But some of the way the songs sound, he had a hand in. Like that guy's good. Matt knows what he's doing, and the way he treated some of like Sharon's backing vocals, and there was some creativity that he brought to it, and that we really appreciated that. So it was funny, like when we went and recorded with Steve, like we actually had a band conversation, like we need to tell Matt and see if he's okay with this, and of course he was. But we feel like he's almost a member of the band because of his contributions, and he knows us so well.
Yeah, it seems like a very symbiotic collaboration.
Yeah, Matt's awesome, and another good dude.
Good dude.
You know,
Jinx. Plugin's working.
Yep. Might need to turn it down a little bit, actually. So
yeah, it's getting a little weird now. So that comes out. That's like, okay. Now time is a weird construct, right? But that comes out like end of 2019.
Right. So we did only a handful of shows to support, but yeah, to play around it. And then lockdown happened. So some of those songs, that's kind of a bummer for me, because like I really like that record.
It's a rad record, honestly. Like I listened to a lot, man. Like I
really think.
Yeah. I mean, that was a busy year for me, so I'm not sure if it made it onto like the list or whatever. I don't actually remember, but like it's I listened to it, you know.
Yeah. No, I love that record. And I think that we had all thought we would have more time to kind of play those songs live. So
nope.
Kind of odd now. Nope. So now we had 2 shows coming up this month to support the new record. The Milwaukee one just got canceled or moved to April, I guess. And then our Chicago record release is still on, fingers crossed, at the Hideout.
At the time of this discussion, yes.
At the time of this discussion. In the future, it'll be past tense, hopefully. Well, so we're hoping that it goes But long story short is, there's a lot of songs that probably didn't get their day in the sun. But, we'll try to drop those into set lists here and there. Not that anybody's counting, but...
Well, no, but it does matter, though, right? And, like, that's not just you guys. That's...
Yeah. No, totally.
That's a real. In the same boat. like I'm a big advocate of, as you well know, the 30-minute set. I'm like, keep it 30. That's good. But I think everybody that has survived this screwed up pandemic, we'll give some dispensation. Like, all right, you got a couple you want to play from that? Yeah, that's fine. Like, whatever.
Yeah, I have to go relearn them now is the problem.
Like I mean, like I'm the ultimate authority on anything, but like like come on, like can you imagine the frivolity of being upset by something like that in the year 2022? A bit like, oh, that band played too long of a set. Oh, that band played a set? Like, but I say that, and the first time I see a terrible band play a 45-minute set, I'm gonna be like, these freaking assholes. I can't believe how indulgent they are. This makes me want to gouge out my ears with an awl. Like, I mean, that's going to be, I'm sure that's going to be, and you know what? I look forward to the day.
That will mean we'll be back to normal.
Exactly. That will mean we have finally gotten back to normal in the year 2035, whenever that is. But anyway, that's a ripper record. So I'm sorry that you guys didn't get a chance to work it.
That's all right. There's not a lot of work in it. Like, we're not touring a ton, or much at all. So it's out there and people can listen to it, and that makes me happy. And I'm really proud of it. I think that was another example of the band really kind of coming together and exchanging ideas. And
so I guess it must have been 2019 was the last time that I say, because I remember like I saw you play some songs from before I heard it, and
A couple of those songs have been around for a little bit.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, right on.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
The I will keep an eye out for when this happens, and then the pandemic happens. So that brings us up to more or less current day,
Yep.
which we started with Competing with Hindsight, out later this month at the time of this recording. January 28th, 2022, Stomatopod, bandcamp.com. Pre-order the vinyl, pre-order the digital. You can get all that business there. Please do so. They're an awesome band, and
thanks.
Check out new shit, jerks.
We did have one split 7-inch in the middle of their Conan.
Oh, the split with out
from Kalamazoo.
Yes, I have that. Yes.
Yep, that was in there too. Angstrom mixed that one as well, and that was that
completely forgot about that one. Sorry, my bad. That's precision.
No, don't worry about it.
And, Dirt Eye, right?
Yeah, exactly. That was the only time we ever made a song shorter so that it would fit, because the idea was that we both had 2 songs on one side of the 7-inch.
2 songs is ambitious for a 7-inch, man.
So then we had to make Precision Surgeon like a short song so they would fit.
Yeah.
And I still like that song, but it's a brief one.
I mean, yeah. That's well, but it's a kind of so. Well, I would answer that by, but it's a kind of song that like, oh, just play it again. Play. You can just play the whole record. I mean, honestly, the whole thing, like the whole enterprise is like over in 10 minutes, right? So it's not like that's sort of time. The whole thing's over, and if you had Moby Dick playing, the drum solo would still be going on when it's over.
Still be going on, and it got into Vita, still going on.
Right, exactly. Echoes wouldn't have even gotten to the birds yet. Like however you want to like Kraftwerk. Audubon would be like entering the second movement. Anyway, whatever. But that 7-inch, that's, and you can get that on the Bandcamp as well. Let's talk about the reason why you're here with me today.
The reason why we're here. Yeah.
Reason for the season, competing with Hindsight. Tell me that title first of all.
Oh, that title comes lyric from one of the songs. So it starts with C, but it comes from one of the songs, "Out of Your Hands."
Yeah.
Certainly, this is, there's no getting around. This is like a COVID era record, and there's a little bit of politics. There's some just regular old introspection, and I felt like it all kind of centered around this notion of like what you're living through and how you're going to perceive it someday could be wildly different, and which is the right one. But I don't know. It was a hard one to title because it's 6 songs. There's some of our longer songs that we've written, and just the moment. It was this year's worth of, hard to define craziness.
I mean, it's ineffable, right? And what is everyone's? People joke about like everyone making their COVID record, right? And the band meme 666 is especially good about that, which everyone should follow on Instagram. Protonic brought to you by band meme 666 apparently, but it's very funny in the way that it's constantly referencing the concept EP that was never finished and so on and so on. But it's real. Like this is a global trauma.
Yeah,
especially when remotely creative has had to deal with, not just like as a one-time thing, but as an ongoing basis, while you do whatever else you have in your life as well, and that's real.
Yeah. So
pretending like it doesn't exist is sort of like if you watch a TV show you like, and they're just sort of, we're just not going to talk about COVID at all. It's like, okay, so this is escapism. Cool.
I wonder what my COVID experience would have been like if I didn't have like young children. Yeah. That was most of our COVID experience. Whereas, a lot of the other creative people I know had lots of time, almost too much time. Like, well, we had like zero time. So the fact that we were, and then Sharon has kids too. They're a little bit older than ours, but But yeah, and then
So you have to be a
everybody's
teacher
experience-
now. You have to be
You
like
have to be a little bit of
the event
everything.
coordinator. Like,
I did a lot of dishes and laundry.
Yeah.
More than normal. Um, but no, you're right. Like, everybody's experience was different, but everybody was also somewhat the same. Where at least for those first number of months, where no one really knew what was going on, right?
everybody's
Some
baking
people,
bread for a minute, and that was a bizarre.
yeah, or spraying down the groceries, or microwaving takeout food, or whatever they were doing. So there's so much uncertainty. So like this unknowable thing was the kind of common experience. And then of course all the insanity happened with questioning reality and everything being politically polarizing. But yeah, thank goodness, like we were able to kind of focus on something, greater, creativity wise. You can just focus on, let's put together some songs and make an album with this guy who lives in town who happens to be a legend.
Yeah. You heard of this guy? Yeah. You hear this guy, Steve? Yeah, it's getting good. But I mean, props, because that's hard to do, and like it's a choice. Like, and it's very easy to just let the cynicism just devour you.
Sure, or just feel like you're too tired at the end of the day to
And just be like, I couldn't possibly. Yeah, exactly. The mind
and
is working, the body.
There were a lot of days like that too. But yeah, it all comes back to that kind of that thread that runs through all of this that you mentioned earlier. For some dumb reason, not dumb, but for some reason, since I was 13 years old and I got my first guitar, I've always just had this drive to make music, and it didn't matter necessarily how many people listened to it. But it's always been that kind of just the thing that I feel like brings me joy, and I like doing it, and that continued through this nutty global pandemic, and it was something that kind of got me through, and so that's awesome.
So why don't we do this thing if you're into it? It's gonna be real awkward if you're not. But we're let's go through each of the songs of the record.
All right, I'll do my best.
And you can, if you can, just tell me a little bit about it. It could be the etymology of the title. It could be like if you have any lyric ideas, arrangement, any like anything interesting you can tell me about the creative process of this, because I find this to be an interesting exercise 99% of the time. So don't be that 1%. But if you're into it, you don't have to be some grand epiphany or anything, right?
No, that's cool. I get you. I've heard some of your interviews too.
Okay. So it starts off with "Be the Hog."
Be the Hog.
Exclamation point. By the way, I appreciate the usage of punctuation in song titles. Some people do not, and they are fools. Thank you.
That one required the exclamation point because it's kind of like a ludicrous notion. That was the first song that we wrote when we first started playing in the garage in June of 2020. And that, just this ridiculous notion of just, it's hard to explain. Whoever the singer is acknowledging that they are going to just be that quintessential capitalist consumer and just fuck it, I'm just going to be a shitty person. I'm not necessarily saying that's me or anything, but like there are people in our society who don't seem to have a qualms just being a consumer, and that's fine. But maybe not. It's not fine. But
I mean, it's real. I don't know if it's fine. It's definitely real.
Exclamation point was necessary because it's such a ludicrous concept nowadays, especially when you see so many people hurting out there, that you can just go out there and just grind down resources and use things up and when other people need. Did I lose you?
No. I just.
Oh my God!
I just to say,
like looking at myself for a second.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to alarm you. I think there was.
Conan went to the bathroom. So,
oh no, I do that on camera. That's
another
Patreon extra.
podcast.
Yeah. God, that's terrible. I should never say that again.
Yeah, a lot of regrets. So Be the Hog. I don't know. it's kind of a grunge song.
Yeah, it's
but
got that the melding of the sort of unkempt irritation with the pop sensibility, you know.
yeah, there's a catchy hook there. Yeah, that was another one that's fun to play. It just kind of seems like a natural kind of early in the set type of song that everybody kind of gets comfortable with. You know.
Longer Division is next.
Yeah, this is the problem. Is like whenever I try to like compare music to other music, I'm always not wrong, but in the minority. Like to me, Longer Division has like a Jesus Lizard thing happening, and I don't think that Elliot and Sharon think so, and I don't know if you do, but it's one of our longer songs. It's a little more political in nature, and it's funny because it started out with a particular riff that maybe in my mind was more Jesus Lizardy or Scratch Acid-y, and then the other parts kind of came and then just kind of flipped it on its head a little bit. There's even like a little bit of jangly thing happening in there at one point that could almost be like REM. So it's clearly not a straight Jesus Lizard song, but it started life as a lot skronkier, noisier, and then it kind of became this like weird kind of journey that kind of meanders through hard and soft.
Well, I think a lot of people, when they compare to the Jesus Lizard, it's to talk about some band that basically does one of the 5 or 6 things that band does, and like that's their band sound. And in reality, it's much more nuanced than that. Like most great bands, there's more to it. And I could see the sort of like exploratory aspects of it having that kind of thing. I can hear it. I can hear where you would go with that.
And it just occurred to me that it would be nothing in like what David Yao is doing, more from like a
but just like the way it all kind of fits together, maybe more than anything.
Maybe. And again, I'm probably 100% wrong, but that's just that, how I thought about it when we were initially coming together. So this was one that we demoed out quite a bit, and then came up with some different transitions and really kind of worked at how is this song going to flow and make sense. And it ended up being like a longer song that, we tend to do 3.5 minute songs usually. And this one's a little bit or I think it's north of 5 minutes even, but so it's a little different for us. But it was a true collaboration where we were all kind of bringing things in and figuring out ways to get from A to B to Z.
I think it gets over. I think it's a really good second song on the record.
Cool,
too.
Thanks.
That's a nice place for that one. So then third song, Like the Breeze.
Ah, yes. I've been toying with the notion of doing a song with a slide.
Nice.
And so then it kind of reminds me a little bit of, there's some slide Mudhoney songs. Seems kind of
especially
in that,
on Every Good Boy Deserves Fudge. There's that's the slide grunge nadir, I think.
A little bit there. Yep. Now, I'll say it, and it's probably not a popular. My Brother the Cow has aged way better than I thought. I didn't really care for that record when it came out. It's pretty good when you listen to it now.
If any of those dudes ever come in this show, I will be the first one to echo that opinion, because I agree. Like at the time, I was like, ugh, really? And now it's like
aged well.
Actually, this is pretty good. Like even something like Fearless Doctor Killers, which I was like, this is hokey. I was like, no, this rips. Actually, this is good.
Yep. So that one, the main guitar is in like open A or A minor or A or whatever, and so that's a little different. That was kind of fun to play and slide and in a different tuning, and just kind of a dynamics thing.
Are you normally an alternate tuning kind of guy? Like, do you fuck with alternate tunes that much?
We do a bit of drop D. Primarily, it's in standard. For this one, we did one song that we all, Sharon and I, tuned to standard tuning in E flat.
Oh, nice. Yeah. That's the that's like the Nirvana thing, right? The Nirvana.
Nirvana did it. Hendrix did it a lot.
Soundgarden, I think, maybe did it too.
Probably. It's pretty common. It's
supposed to be easier to sing, I think, right? That's the idea.
Yes, but you'd be surprised how a half step down will make your heavy song sound heavier.
You'd be surprised. Yes.
It's you would not think, but you and Tony sometime drop down a half step, it'll blow your mind. So that's that's our slide song, and
that's a good one.
It's got a little bit of a drum breakdown in the middle there. I was imagining Elliot going crazy like Keith Moon, and he kind of does, but
it's got a kind of rock and roll circus who kind of energy to that or so I imagine. I mean that's how, which is a huge compliment for me. I mean that's like,
I love watching Elliot play. I wish I didn't have to stand with my back to him all the time.
Dude, wish you didn't have to look at your butt all the time.
I've got a nice butt, Conan. Come on now.
Fair.
I've been doing my Kegels.
And the other the movie show that I do, I articulated in a moment of frustration that I think during this pandemic I've been both skinny Elvis and fat Elvis. So take of that what you will, but let's just say the Neutron household has a treadmill now.
Oh, look at you.
So there you go. Gonna make good use of this winter 11 degrees outside time. So the big parade is the next song.
That is a riff I came up with. That kind of the main guitar riff at the beginning there. Built the song around that. It's got a different vibe than any of our other songs. I mean, we're not particularly like a dancey sounding band. If there was a song to dance to, I guess this would probably be it. And then this has my favorite lyrics, I think, of any of the songs.
Well, and it's an interesting melding, because it's not necessarily what you would think. I don't know what you would think that would be on there like naturally or whatever, but like it isn't exactly the thing that you think that's going to be, and I think I always find that enticing.
Yeah, like it could have gone a number of different directions, but I like singing this one. And then we came up with this backing vocal that Sharon does that's almost impossible to do live.
It's a cool backing vocal part, though. It's super cool.
This has never happened to us before, because probably because of the process. Because normally we write while we're jamming it out and playing, but then we started demoing it, and this really cool vocal line came out, and asking the bass player to sing it while she's doing the bass part is very counter rhythmic, but when it's all together, it sounds awesome. Yeah, and I love her voice on there too.
No, it's really good, and it's I would say that's one of the highlights for me. But yeah, that's almost like a Paul McCartney pull, right? Of like, hey, do this weird, complicated bass thing, and then also sing over.
Right.
Thanks.
Right.
But it's good. It's a great tune.
Thanks. I like that one a lot. That one, there's another one that's fun to play. So
seems like that one would pop live. As no kids probably say. But, out of your hands.
This one kind of came out a little bit later in our songwriting. It might be the slowest, mellowest song we've ever done. Nowadays,
it's okay. Now that you mentioned it, I think I'd back that. Sure,
it's got a bit of an edge to it in like the bridge part, I guess. But every record we do, there's always one song that seems to have like a part that necessitates another guitar player to pull it off live. And this is that song on this record. And we've always said that we're going to get Angstrom out here to be our second guitar player for some of these songs. But
that guy's like a Swiss Army knife, man.
He certainly is. I don't know. This one just has a totally different feel than I would say maybe a couple years ago. We might not have even we would have moved on instead of putting effort into this song, but for some reason, it just seemed like a good fit for the other songs, a nice kind of palate cleanser, something different. I don't know. It's softer, but it's got kind of a pretty cynical lyric to it. But yeah, not our most experimental, but they don't all have to be like.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. They don't all need to be like Maggot Brain. It's all right.
Yeah, not all the time, at least.
So then that takes us to last song on the record, but first song available to the public.
Yeah, that's right. Variatrix.
Yes. Pulled a chair of antlers on that one. Bold move. First single is the last song on the record. Although, what does anything mean anymore? Whatever.
No, it means nothing. This one just had you kind of built around the guitar riff. I don't know how to explain this one either. I mean, we really worked on some different dynamics and shifts and stuff. It's a little more nuanced. It's less cut and dry. It's a little harder to kind of pull off, but it makes you feel like you really accomplished something when you do pull it off right.
Yeah.
So it's not as simple as just like, here's the A section, the B section. I wouldn't say it's a complicated song, but there's something really gratifying when we do it, and we do it well. And then this is one that, so when we were recording it with Albini, he suggested I use that Volino aluminum guitar that he has, which I was kind of excited about because I'm a Nirvana buff, and I know that Cobain used that on In Utero a bit.
Yeah.
So that was kind of an extra added bonus.
I have touched it. I went over and went, dude, all right, I've touched that guitar now.
Yeah, so I use it a little bit here on this song, and I think I did the guitar solo on Big Parade on the Volino as well.
By the way, well done.
Thank you.
Well done. Not just for the guitar solo, but also for the having the foresight to hey, this is a legendary guitar that's done cool shit. I'm gonna do some cool shit on it.
Yeah, I try to pack as much as I could into our 3 days there.
That's the Atlas Obscura of recording for sure.
Yeah. So all in all, yeah, we did basically we set up and did almost all the tracking day one. I think we finished one song in the morning of day 2. Did overdubs and vocals the rest of that day and partly into day 3, and then mixed. And it's like an easy mixing process. It was pretty bare bones, not a whole lot of extra overdubs, and when Steve puts up a mix on the desk, it sounds pretty good place to start from. Yeah.
No, that's I was, that's impressive, and it's that's a nice thing, and especially it being your third record, right? Not counting the 7-inch, it's a nice thing, man. That's sort of because I was like, oh well, this interesting, I'd honestly just assumed it was Elliot and Matt mixing. I didn't even think about it all, and I looked, I'm like, oh, they did this with Steve. Interesting. And that's the perfect, hey man, global pandemic, life short. Let's go.
Exactly.
And I salute that.
I think there'll be a lot of splurge spending after this pandemic is over, when people kind of realize this whole carpe diem, life's short kind of thing.
Treat yourself.
Yeah. But it was such a great experience. We all had a blast, and it was fun spending time there in the studio. And Steve did once say that kind of to your point earlier, the pandemic was really good to Bob Weston, because all these people found these old projects under their bed, and they're like, oh, I should get this mastered. And so
it's getting mastered, I can put it out. Yeah.
But nobody was going in to record in the studio. He was thankful that we came. Are you kidding me? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
He didn't. Yeah, it was great.
I'll do you the favor. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything we can do to help.
Yeah. Whatever. I do this out of the kindness of my heart, really. Practically, cheer.
So the only bummer is we didn't get fluffy coffees because they weren't doing those.
Well.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's,
that it's pretty rad, and it's a great record too, and it's
nice.
I think people should check it out. Again, stomatopod.bandcamp.com. Competing with Hindsight. I'm gonna bring it up multiple times because people should be checking this out. Are you keeping it Bandcamp only? Are you putting it up on the other things that people like?
It'll be on Spotify and the other things. Yeah.
All the other stuff that does not give any money to artists, and it's all sharecropping. But whatever, it's
I've
all
never,
radio.
I've never seen any money from this, Conan. Come on.
The money pit.
The money goes one direction.
Exactly, it goes out. Talk about in through the outdoor. It's out through the outdoor too. Everything's going out.
Exactly.
So I mean, overall, like, you know, recording this record, wild time to be recording, wild time to be doing much of anything. But
yep,
good experience.
Totally. I mean, totally. It did exactly what we wanted to do. It gave us that light at the end of the tunnel. It gave us a common purpose. We really pulled together as a band, became better friends throughout the whole process, and we've got this wonderful thing that we're really proud of. That we can show all of our friends, and maybe some other people online will buy it or listen to it. That's awesome.
Well, that's the hope. I mean, I will say that you know, the Bandcamp Fridays have been huge, right?
Yeah.
And not the least of which has been, I'm trying to articulate this, but it's just the idea of that you get people into this is the day that we go buy music.
Yeah.
God,
yep.
That's nice.
Are they coming back this year? Are they doing them?
Good question. I certainly hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, Christ, paid our power bill one month, you know, like, so it's
really?
Like,
wow.
Yeah, and that was a rough month too. Yeah, like it's provided, you know, it's provided direct relief to artists that this country, you know, would like. Of course not.
For sure.
I seriously hope they continue it, and because it's maybe the only artist friendly thing going on, and
totally.
Not that it's about the money. It's not about the money. That's not what I'm saying. People don't.
No, but it can be helpful.
It's nice to put, you know, gas in the proverbial tank, if not the literal one.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
No, it's been a pleasure, and I'm glad that there's the opportunity to talk about this record, to have you on, because
yeah,
it's nice. You know, I always say that people focus on like the big guests, and I love talking to the big guests. Don't get me wrong, but it's also the point of this show is the only reason why it works, frankly, is when I have genuine interest in the art of the person who's on. So there's people that you should know as well. And every once in a while, people, you know, do their due diligence and check it out and get that Protonic bump too. Maybe 3 listens, you know.
It's just nice talking to you, Conan.
It is. And I'm glad you did it. So, you know, I'm not going to let you go without me asking the same question I ask everyone.
All right, do it.
So, canned question, interpret however you like. Why do you do what you do?
Oh, come on. Not for the money. I do it just because music meant so much to me when I was a kid, and it has throughout my entire life. I do it because I love it, and sometimes people react to it, but that's almost beside the point, you know. I do it because I love it. It makes me feel good, and I don't know what I would channel that energy into otherwise if I didn't do this. So,
Jen Huston, thank you so much, sir. So good to have you.
Conan. Good to see you. Looking forward to seeing you in person sometime.
Same here. I might get a wild hair and come down to Chicago if that actually happens. But I'll be.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great.
I'll be looking at the weather report the whole time.
All right. Yeah, you never know. It's Chicago in January. So.
But I did it. I've done it before. I've done it for less. Let's put it that way.
Well, that's very complimentary.
And that doesn't mean you pay me off. Yeah.
All right, man. Well,
congratulations, dude. And
thank you.
Don't be a stranger. Be safe, man.
You too. Take care.
All right, brother. There he goes. Mr. John Huston. Let's listen to one of the songs on the record. Again, check that out. So one more time, stomatopod.bandcamp.com. It's Competing with Hindsight is the name of the record. Go get it. Take a chance, man. Take a chance while you still got a choice.
turn. I was racing time. I saw it happen in the blink of an eye. All these wrinkles seem to cut so deep. This mess will straighten out in time. This mess will settle down in time. This boy will settle down, you'll see. You'll live a life, but when the time comes, I'm already going blind. But then I realize I can never really see. It's just that I thought I was doing fine. Until I recognized it was all inside of me. She holds the key, but there isn't much mystery. When the time comes, who will be released? I know the stakes, and I'm prepared to do whatever it takes. Help me pull the sheets up over my eyes. This mess will straighten out in time. This mess will settle down in time. This boy will settle down, you'll see. Little light, if I come, I'm already going blind. But then I realize I can never really see. It's just that I thought I was doing fine. Until I recognized it was all inside of me.
Stomatopod, Variatrix. You know, I let him go, and I didn't even ask what Variatrix meant. I don't know what that word means. I could probably just look it up. But yeah, that's on the new one. That's on the new one, competing with Hindsight. So as I mentioned, go to the Bandcamp, check that out. We got a little time. I'm going to play something off of the very excellent record, Broken Crucible. I think that record rips as well. So this is not the new one, but it's good.
the shame. Lethal, slippery slope. I'm not a slave. I'm the Bear Lily's bar, and I crossed the bridge. She's a statue that began to breathe, and I crossed the bridge. I'm on a passage on a sinking ship now, and I crossed the bridge. Oh no! I'm in the dark. The dreams of the hell. I'm in between. I'm the Bear Lily's pile, and I cross the bridge. She's a statue that began to breathe, and I cross the bridge. I'm on a passage on a sinking ship now, and I cross the bridge. Slippery slope. I'm not a slave. I'm the Bear Lily's bar, and I cross the bridge. She has breathe, and I cross the bridge. I'm on my passage on a sinking ship now, and I cross the bridge.
Baudelaire, Stomatopod. That's off Broken Crucible. That's a record. It's a record before this one, and it's also good. Stomatopod Bandcamp.com for that.
Is this thing on?
Comedian with Hindsight is the new one. Go get that. It's awesome. It's all awesome. That was Mr. John Huston, everybody. So hope you guys enjoyed that. The pre-orders for that, get on the internet. It'll probably be another stuff later. Do they have a website? I don't know if they have a website. Probably not. Nobody has a website anymore. Just me. They don't know what their website.
Oh, God.
But they're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr. Really? Oh, okay. Stomatopod, Stomatopod. I'd like to thank John Huston for being on the show. Awesome dude, awesome band. Of course, the name of the show is Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. Thank you very much for listening to it. This has been episode 279. The show airs Thursdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific on RadioNope.com. Say yes to Nope. Also, live streaming on YouTube,
Mr.
Twitch,
and Mrs. America, all the ships
Facebook
at
when I
sea.
feel like it. All that stuff. Archives always
The
free.
sound of my voice.
ProtonicReversal.com. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding. But if you want
I've got
to get episodes sooner
50,000 watts of power.
and you want to support the show, you can do both those things by going to patreon.com/ProtonicReversal. Also spreading the word around, liking, subscribing, sharing the episodes, all that helps, you know. And I thank you for that, for listening, really. Good stuff coming.
Hear me now?
Let's make 2022 cool. 2022 cool.
Route 128, you're dark and lonely.
Let's stay safe out there
I got my radio on.
and take it easy.
Can you hear me now? 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 In the radio. That snare drum, that drum roll means we got a winner. If you're the fifth caller, or any caller at all, welcome to my top 10. I'd like to thank our sponsor. We haven't got a sponsor. Not if you were the last man on earth. She was prepared to prove it. This one goes out to a special girl. There is no special girl. It's the end of radio. The last announcer plays the last record. The last what? Leaves the transmitter. Circles the globe in search of a listener. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Is it really broadcasting if there's no one there to receive? It's the end radio. As we come to the close of our broadcast day, got my radio on. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? This is a test! This had been a real emergency! Hey, hey! This is a real goddamn emergency!